Hey guys, welcome to the English podcast for listening and speaking. You're standing in a fog, not the cold kind that clings to your shoes like a damp sock. This one is warmer, cozier, flower fog. It smells like crust and cinnamon, like toasted mornings and something just a little burnt in the best way. You breathe in, you can almost taste the softness in the air. Somewhere nearby, someone is whispering to dough like it's a secret lover. This is the quiet part of the city. Old bricks, wooden signs, crooked chimneys. It's not history. Don't worry, I promised you no timelines tonight. This is something sleepier. You shuffle past a row of shuttered stalls. You're wearing socks that don't match and a jacket that smells faintly of yesterday's toast. Everything feels fuzzy, like the world hasn't quite finished booting up yet. Someone sneezes flour from behind a cracked window. You chuckle, just a little. You've never been in a place that smells this much like vocabulary before. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments. Where are you listening from, and what time is it there? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You turn the corner and find yourself facing a bakery so old it seems like it's been baked into the street itself. The wood is warm, the paint peeled away in the shape of something almost poetic. On the door, someone has scrawled in faded chalk, "Weight matters." You stare at it, then glance down at your own arms. Don't worry, it's not that kind of weight. This one's about bread. Inside, there's a woman folding dough like she's tucking in a tired child. She hums a tune with no melody. Her hair's full of flour, and her apron has declared war on fashion. You sit on a bench near the oven and watch the dough rise, slowly, peacefully, like it's got nowhere better to be. That's the mood you're in tonight, rising, not rushing. The woman glances at you and says, "In the old days, we used to weigh every loaf twice, one for the oven, one for the law." You blink. She shrugs. If it was too light, you paid a fine. Bread wasn't just food, it was fairness. Then she goes back to kneading, her fingers dancing like they're doing some secret sign language for carbs. You sit quietly, breathing in warm, yeasty air. Words drift into your brain like steam. Knead, crust, dough, crumble, proof, rise, stale, golden brown. Each one feels soft around the edges, like they're ready to be picked up gently and added to your vocabulary basket. You think about how funny it is that proof in baking means to let something rise. In life, proof means evidence. But here, it's just quiet magic, dough that swells in the dark and becomes something you can hold. Words do that too. You lean against the warm wall. There's a soft thud behind you as someone drops a sack of flour. The bag splits, and the powder spills like snow across the stone. You think about how the word dusty can be both bad, dusty shelf, and beautiful, dusty rose, dusty sunlight. That's English for you. Contradiction with crust. Outside, bells ring faintly, not alarm bells, more like the kind of bells that remind people something good is ready. The bakery door swings open, and a man shuffles in holding a scale. He grunts, places it on the counter, and gives the baker a look like he's expecting mischief. She hands him a loaf. He weighs it, nods, stamps something, leaves. You raise an eyebrow. She grins. Some people think weighing bread is about rules. Really, it's about trust. She slides the next loaf into the oven with a soft hiss. If it's too light, someone might go hungry. If it's too heavy, well, congrats on extra carbs. You smile. That's the thing about English. You learn more when your hands smell like bread. You glance at the scale again. Words like light, heavy, balanced, and fair suddenly seem friendlier. Not like test words, like story words. Outside, someone shouts, "Fresh loaves," and a group of children tumble down the street like scattered marbles. You don't follow them, not yet. You're not ready to leave the warmth. Instead, you sit back, fold your arms, and whisper to yourself the quietest vocabulary list ever spoken aloud. Flour, crust, weight, slice, knead, rise, loaf. And just like that, you're not learning English. You're drifting in it. You step outside into air that smells like toasted hope. The loaf the baker gave you, still warm, wrapped in cloth that's been used a few hundred times too many, is heavier than expected. Not carry it with both arms, heavy, but solid, serious, like it's got responsibilities. You give it a gentle bounce in your palm. There's a weight to trust after all, and this bread is passing the test. You wander slowly down the street, where shutters creak open like sleepy eyes. People are stirring, sweeping, stretching. One man, barefoot and blinking, waves as he adjusts a crooked sign above his stall. It reads, "Fair weight measured here." You smile. There it is again. Weight. It's everywhere this morning, like a vocabulary word that's decided to follow you home. A bell rings somewhere far off, soft and distant. Not urgent, more like, "Hey, maybe start your day, if you feel like it." You stop at a wide plaza where an old woman is handing out tiny slips of paper with handwritten proverbs. She says nothing, just presses one into your hand and nods. You unfold it. Even bread can betray if baked too light. You blink. Okay, that's a bit intense for a sleepy morning. But it sticks in your head. Because here's the thing. A long time ago, no dates, I promised. Bakers used to be fined if their bread was underweight. And not just a little slap on the wrist fine. Real messy consequences. Why? Because bread wasn't a luxury. It was life. If a baker cheated on weight, it meant someone else, often poor, often tired, would go home hungry. So laws were passed. Loaves were checked. Fairness had flour on its hands. You glance down at your loaf again, still warm, still solid, still honest. That's when you notice a small boy following you. He's got flour in his hair and a smudge of jam on his chin. He points at your bread and asks, "Is it heavy enough?" You nod solemnly. "Feels like it." He grins, then scampers off, leaving behind a trail of tiny, perfect footprints and the faint smell of sleep and sugar. You sit on a low wall nibbling the crust. It's golden, flaky, the kind of texture that makes your teeth feel respected. The middle's soft, a little chewy. You pause to think about how many English words are actually about texture. Here's a few: crispy, chewy, flaky, dense, airy, soft, crusty, spongy. You whisper them one by one. They feel good in your mouth, like marshmallows, but educational. And then as you chew, a thought flickers into your brain like a firefly. A baker's dozen. 13. Why? You've heard it before, maybe in a movie or from someone who likes to sound charming at brunch. But today it hits different. Because now you know that back in those foggier, loaf-weighing times, bakers didn't want to get fined for underweight bread. So they added an extra roll, just in case. 13 instead of 12. Safety loaf. You smile. Imagine if English vocabulary worked the same way. Maybe you'd get 13 words for every list of 12. A little bonus verb for good measure. One for the road. You scribble in your pocket notebook. Baker's dozen, 13, not 12, because trust has a weight. The square is busier now. More voices, more smells. Someone's roasting peanuts. A child is trying to sell something that looks suspiciously like yesterday's turnip. You don't move yet. You're still watching the sunlight on your loaf. Another idiom drifts into your mind. You're not sure where from. Half-baked, as in, that's a half-baked idea. Meaning, unfinished, rushed, not thought through. It makes sense now, doesn't it? You picture someone pulling a loaf out too early, soft in the middle, awkward to chew, possibly catastrophic. That's how bad ideas feel, and how some late-night emails sound. You write it down, half-baked, an idea not fully formed, or a plan without proper care. The plaza clock chimes. A dog barks in protest. You stretch your toes inside your shoes, still warm from walking, still smelling like toasted flour and sleepy conversation. Another word drifts by, proofing. We mentioned it earlier, didn't we? In baking, it's the waiting part, the rising part, the time when the dough just exists, not sleeping, not finished, but swelling quietly toward what it wants to become. You choose slower. Suddenly you realize you're proofing too, not rushing, just becoming. And somehow, along the way, you've learned that weight matters, even in words. That a dozen isn't always 12. That half-baked is more than just a funny insult. That crispy, chewy, dense, and soft aren't just textures, they're feelings. You finish the last bite of bread and brush crumbs from your hands like tiny punctuation marks. Somewhere behind you, someone shouts, "Fresh loaves!" And a new batch of fog begins to rise from a bakery window. But you're not going back. Not yet. You've got a few more idioms to chew on. You've wandered into a smaller alley now. Your loaf finished, your hands empty, but your brain pleasantly full. It's quieter here. The noise of the plaza is a soft hum behind you, like a story being told in another room. You run your fingers along the rough brick walls as you go, feeling the bumps, the dents, the tiny indents that tell you this wall has seen things. The bricks are warm. There's a smell in the air. Yeast, soap, maybe a whisper of cardamom. Someone's washing yesterday off the stones. You pass a doorway just as a splash of water arcs out of it and lands near your feet with a gentle slap. This is the kind of morning that doesn't ask questions. It just lets you exist in it. You glance at a sign above the door ahead. Light Loaf Tavern. You smile at the coincidence, then realize, maybe it's not a coincidence at all. The door's open, so you step in. It's dim inside, but not in a scary way. More like a cozy library or a room lit by a single sleepy candle. There are a few people here already. Old regulars, judging by how they hold their mugs like they were born doing it. The woman behind the counter nods at you. "Loaf's gone," she says, "but you can stay." You sit at a wooden table shaped like a loaf itself. Curved edges, flour-smoothed surface. A man across from you is whispering to a slice of toast, or maybe to the air. Either way, it feels normal here. On the wall, etched into the wood, is a phrase. "Soft loaf, soft heart." You tilt your head. What does that mean exactly? Maybe that soft bread makes people kinder. Maybe it's a way of saying that gentle things feed us better. Or maybe it's just something someone once said during a nap. The barkeep slides you a cup of something warm. You don't ask what, it smells like oats and patience. You think of another phrase. Bread and butter. That's a good one. In English, bread and butter can mean the basics. The reliable stuff. This job is my bread and butter. Translation. This is what keeps me going. Pays the bills. Grounds me. You write it down in your notebook next to a little doodle of toast. Bread and butter. The essential thing that supports or sustains you. You sip. The drink tastes like stories. Someone near the fireplace mutters something about earning their crust. You smile again. That one's older, maybe. A little less common now, but still beautiful. To earn your crust just means to work hard for your living, to knead the dough of your life with your hands, to turn effort into something you can chew. Your pen scratches again. Earn your crust to work honestly for your basic needs. There's a rhythm to these idioms. They all feel nourishing, like the English language took one look at a bakery and said, "Yes, we'll take all of this." The fireplace crackles. Someone yawns deeply. The woman behind the counter wipes a mug like she's not in any rush. This isn't a world of hustle. It's a world of simmering. You glance at another carving on the table. A new one. Fresh letters. That's the way the cookie crumbles. You laugh softly. You've heard it before. You always thought it sounded kind of sad. But now in this quiet, flower-scented tavern, it feels more accepting. The cookie breaks. That's life. Some things fall apart. Some slices come uneven. It's okay. You jot it down without even thinking. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Used when accepting a disappointing or unexpected situation. You sip the last of your warm drink and tuck the notebook back into your pocket. You thank the barkeep with a nod. She doesn't need words. She's heard enough over the years. Outside, the alley is even quieter now. Just the shuffle of feet, the distant clatter of a pan, the gentle clink of a cup being set down somewhere. You pass a man sitting cross-legged on a step, carving a piece of bread into a small animal. He looks up and says, "Best sculpture I've ever eaten." You grin and keep walking. One more idiom drifts to you on the breeze. Maybe you heard it earlier. Maybe it just decided to find you now. I know which side your bread is buttered on. You pause. That one means to understand what benefits you, to appreciate the hand that feeds, or the job that supports, or the people who bring you warm tea without asking. Another scribble in the notebook. Know which side your bread is buttered on, to recognize where your advantage lies. You reach the corner where the alley opens up to a sleepy garden square. You sit on a bench shaped like a baguette. Okay, not really, but it's curved enough to pretend. Birds are chirping. Someone's playing something soft on a flute. Your brain is full of phrases, but not in a stressful way. More like a warm cupboard of useful little ideas. And in this moment you realize bread isn't just food. It's language. It's comfort. It's the cozy crust of communication, golden and a little chewy, just like life. You stay on the bench for a while, letting the sun play tricks on your eyelashes. It's that drowsy kind of afternoon light that makes everything feel like a gentle maybe. People walk past you like they're part of a dream you forgot you were having. Slow steps, quiet laughter. Scarves fluttering like flags of sleepy nations. Then the breeze shifts. It brings with it a wave of scent so strong, so flurry, so profoundly bready that you blink twice just to make sure you didn't hallucinate a croissant. The source? A small shop with a crooked chimney and a sign that's been smudged so many times, it now simply reads, FLR. You assume it says flour. Or maybe flavor, or maybe it's just shy. You follow your nose into the shop, where the air is dusted with what looks like finely ground clouds. There's flour on everything, on the shelves, the counters, the little bell by the register, the cat sleeping in the windowsill. Even the light seems flurry, like it's passed through a sifter on its way in. Behind the counter is a woman with flour in her eyebrows and a voice like a soft pancake. "You lost?" she asks. You shake your head and smile. "I think I'm exactly where I need to be." She nods once, like that's a perfectly acceptable answer. She offers you a fresh roll and gestures to a stool near a window with a view of exactly one very confused pigeon. As you sit, you notice a chalkboard above the counter. It says, English word of the day, crumbly. You mouth the word to yourself, crumbly. It's oddly satisfying, like biting into something that collapses in a pleasant way. You think of more texture words again. Not just food now, feelings, places, people. Flaky, both a pastry and someone who forgets plans. Dense, a loaf, a fog, or a confusing conversation. Stale, old bread, but also an idea that's lost its spark. Golden color, warmth, or the feeling when someone finally gets your joke. You sip a cup of something herbal, something calming, something you can't name but definitely want more of. Outside, the pigeon makes eye contact with you, flaps dramatically, then does absolutely nothing else. From the back room, a soft commotion. The rustle of paper, the clink of tins, the hush of people trying not to be interesting. You peek around the corner and find it, a flower storeroom. Shelves stacked high with sacks, tins, jars, all labeled in slightly nervous handwriting. One sack is labeled flour, quiet. Another, grammar powder, handle gently. A third, for emergencies only, pun dust. You chuckle, then sneeze. The flour retaliates. And just like that, your head is full of words again. Delicious, descriptive, and weirdly poetic ones. Kneaded to mix dough by hand, but also to knead something deeply. Sprinkle, a soft, scattered motion, also used for kindness. Sprinkle compliments. Fold, in baking, it means to gently mix. In life, it means to yield, to bend, to change shape without breaking. The baker returns, wiping her hands on an apron that already gave up. She sets down a tray of buns and whispers, "Don't trust that one. He's got too much filling." You don't ask which bun she's talking about. You respect the mystery. As you nibble on your roll, you hear her mutter another phrase. "That one's the upper crust." Ah, there's a good one. In Old English usage, upper crust referred to the top layer of a loaf, the one that didn't touch the pan, didn't soak in the soot. It was considered cleaner, nicer. Over time, upper crust came to mean the fancy people, the elite, those with powdered wigs and very little dirt under their fingernails. You write it down in your notebook. Upper crust, wealthy or high-status people, originally the top part of bread. You think about how language takes things and turns them sideways, how we bite into idioms without even realizing they were once literal. That's what makes learning it strange and cozy at the same time, like finding a hidden room inside a bakery, or a joke baked into the wall. You reach for another bun, this one golden and slightly crooked. You ask, "What do you call a loaf that's not quite right?" The baker smiles. "We call it character." That's not a dictionary word, but maybe it should be. Because some things don't need fixing. They just need time, and warmth, and a bit of flour in the air, and maybe a few new English words sprinkled across the day like sugar on top. The door chimes as you leave the flour-dusted bakery, full not just of carbs, but of comfort. You carry a second roll wrapped in cloth, even though you don't remember asking for it. Maybe it just wanted to come with you. Maybe it heard your notebook and thought, "I too am vocabulary." Outside, the air has shifted, a little warmer now, like the world's been sunbathing. Somewhere, someone's playing a lazy melody on a string instrument that doesn't know it's supposed to be serious. It's the kind of music that sounds like it was written by someone who's always 10 minutes late and never apologizes. You wander into a tiny side street paved with uneven stones and lined with sleepy shops. A faded sign above a doorway reads, "The Idiom Exchange." You pause. Well, with a name like that, how could you not? Inside, it's quieter than a well-behaved library. Shelves line the walls, filled not with books but with jars. Glass ones, clay ones, tins that look like they once held licorice or lost buttons. Each jar has a handwritten label. Sayings for sad days, expressions involving soup, idioms that only work in autumn. You whisper, "Is this real?" And a voice behind the counter answers, "Only on Thursdays." There's a small chalkboard nearby that reads, "Today's theme, expressions with bread." You grin. It seems bread is following you. Or maybe you're following it. The shopkeeper, a wiry person in layers of indigo linen, gestures to a low stool by the window. You sit, and they pour you a cup of something that smells like toasted metaphors. They pull down a jar labeled crusty but kind and begin to speak softly, like they're trying not to wake the nouns. Let's begin with this one, they say, holding up a slip of paper. To break bread. It's one of those expressions that sounds oddly poetic even before you know what it means. You've heard it in movies, maybe in books, usually around campfires or heartfelt moments. To break bread means to share a meal, but more than that, it means to connect, to lower your guard, to sit across from someone and say, we're not enemies, we're eaters of the same loaf. You write it slowly in your notebook. Break bread, to share a meal as a gesture of trust or friendship. The shopkeeper nods approvingly. They pass you another breadwinner. This one's a little more straightforward. The person in the family or group who earns the money, pays the bills, keeps the oven warm. It's a simple word, but there's something powerful in it. Imagine being so essential, your role becomes the bread itself. You scribble, breadwinner, the person who earns the main income to support a household. Next up, something more fun. The shopkeeper raises an eyebrow and says, here's a strange one. Know your onions. You blink. Onions? Now? But they explain, in British English, this means to know your stuff, to be skilled, to have a handle on the situation. Even if it smells a little funny, you smile and jot, know your onions, to be knowledgeable or competent in a subject, UK idiom. Outside, a cloud of pigeons takes off like someone dropped a bag of commas. The shopkeeper doesn't notice. They're busy fishing out another slip from a jar labeled Comfort Idioms Warm. The best thing since sliced bread. This one's fun, playful. It's what people say when something is really, really good, exceptionally useful, like remote controls, or noise-canceling headphones, or soft lighting in bathroom mirrors. You write the best thing since sliced bread, something innovative, impressive, or very useful. There's one more. You sense it coming like the end of a good chapter. Butter someone up. You stifle a laugh. This one's got flavor. It means to flatter someone, sometimes sneakily, often sweetly, like spreading compliments across someone's ego until they're soft and golden and just about ready to say yes to whatever you're asking. You scribble, butter someone up, to flatter someone in order to gain favor. The shopkeeper leans back, satisfied. That's enough for today, they say. Too many idioms at once, and the verbs get tangled. You nod, sipping the last of your metaphor tea. It tastes like kindness and crumbs. As you leave the idiom exchange, the door creaks in a way that feels like it's saying goodbye and come back soon at the same time. The sun has dipped a little lower. Shadows are longer, softer, like blankets being pulled across the ground. Your notebook is heavier now, full of buttery expressions and flower-flecked wisdom. And your brain? It feels rested, not just because of the idioms, but because everything today has been slow, gentle, just enough learning to feel full, not stuffed. You whisper one of the new phrases to yourself, break bread. And you smile thinking, yeah, that's what today was. You broke bread, with the language, with the city, maybe even with yourself. And it felt good. You wander back through the winding lanes, the kind of streets that don't seem to go anywhere in particular, but always take you somewhere nice. The sun is lower now, like a sleepy coin slipping into the horizon's pocket. People pass by slower, softer. The city is settling into itself. You pass a group of kids kicking a ball made from what looks like bundled rags. One of them shouts, "No fair!" Another yells, "Fair is where you buy funnel cakes." You chuckle. That joke translates better than you expected. You pause by a stone bench tucked under a creeping vine, ivy curling over it like punctuation. You sit, because when a bench invites you to pause, it's rude not to. There's something you've been thinking about all afternoon. How learning English feels a lot like baking. You start with flour, basic, dry, everywhere. Words like cat, walk, table. Then you add water, connection, meaning, how things go together. Then comes the kneading, practice, mistakes, repetition. Sometimes you underproof and the words come out flat. Sometimes you overthink and it's all too stiff. But every now and then, it rises just right. You say something and someone laughs. You understand a sign, a lyric, a joke, and it feels warm, like bread pulled from the oven at the perfect time. That's the language you want to learn. Not just exam English, but soft English, tired English, laughing English, the kind that lingers like a crust you almost didn't finish, but secretly loved. You take out your notebook one more time, the page still scented faintly like the roll from earlier. One last phrase you remember someone whispering near the window in the idiom exchange. To have a lot on your plate. You smiled when you heard it because, of course, how English is that? We describe being busy not with clocks or calendars, but food. You jot it down slowly. Have a lot on your plate. To be very busy or overwhelmed with tasks. You pause, then add, to bite off more than you can chew. Slurm, to take on too much responsibility at once. It's funny how language loves the mouth. Chewing, biting, breaking bread, buttering up, full plates. English is a buffet of metaphor. You yawn unexpectedly. It's that good kind of tired, the one that happens when you've learned without effort, when the brain has been massaged instead of pushed. The shadows stretch longer now, like the city is sighing. Somewhere a door creaks shut. Someone hums a lullaby to bread dough. You close your notebook. The wind slips through the leaves like it's learning vocabulary too, testing out soft consonants, repeating shh, ah. And you know it's time to slow down, time to wind down, time to let everything you learned today gently rise in your mind overnight. So you walk one more block, feet soft on the stones. Your second roll from the bakery still wrapped in cloth, still warm. A little gift for tomorrow. You reach the inn just as the lanterns begin to glow. You climb into bed like a well-folded sentence. Easy, rhythmic, with just the right amount of curve. You whisper to the ceiling, "Bertard de break bread, upper crust, haha, butter someone up." Each phrase a little bedtime snack. And finally, loaves that sigh. You fall asleep smiling. And now the day is done. The language is still with you, floating gently like flour in the air. Not loud, not demanding, just present. A quiet hum behind your thoughts. You lie still. The bed is soft, the light is low. There's a faint creak of wood somewhere, old furniture sighing in agreement. A breeze brushes the curtain like a hand patting a blanket. You breathe slowly, in, out. The words you gathered today, crumbly, flaky, upper crust, break bread, they're not just vocabulary anymore. They're little companions, friendly ones. The kind that curl up beside you, not demanding anything, just being. You think of benches in quiet alleys, buns with crooked smiles, shopkeepers who whisper riddles and idioms that unfold like warm rolls. Tomorrow you'll forget some of them. That's okay. The ones you need will rise again. Because learning doesn't always happen in drills and flashcards. Sometimes it happens in pauses, in laughter, in a room that smells like toast. So for now, just rest. You've earned this. Let your thoughts slow to a murmur. Let the words curl into dreams. And if you wake in the night, don't be surprised if you hear a loaf gently exhale in the kitchen. It's just the bread remembering what you learn. Sweet dreams.